Hey, good morning. This is Keith Patterson. You're listening to 90% Half True. And I'm into this Bible, the Gnostic Bible. And Gnostic just means knowing. Gnosis, 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 Gnostic. Gnostic Bible. It's the stuff that got left out of the New Testament among the many manuscripts. Much of this was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's just hidden knowledge. I'm bringing it into the light. It feels good to bring things into the light. I'm going to read some of the introduction. This is part 4. I've been reading for 3 parts before this, but first, man, I want to just, before we get into the book, I want to share this dream I had, just like, night before last. It's sticking in my head, and it, I think it stemmed from a conversation I was having with my wife, where we were trying to figure out, why do we argue about stuff that there's no reason to argue. Why are we doing this? And both of us have good intentions. We don't want to argue, I believe that, but we end up arguing. And then it occurred to me, I thought about my parents and their sometimes difficulty, a lot of times, difficulty in communicating. And I don't necessarily think this is a difference between the way men and women think as much as it is the way a difference between just different people think. But we, most of us, even without knowing it, we follow logic when we are discussing things or trying to learn things. We go, oh, well, I'm not going to. Logic just escapes me right now, but there's 2 kinds of logic, where you start with evidence and work your way to a conclusion. And I believe that's called deductive logic. And then there's inductive logic, where you start at the end with the results, and then you work your way back to the beginning. And that's like inductive, I think, is more like a Sherlock Holmes kind of thing, where you start with the knife in somebody's back, and then you start working your way backwards to the beginning, to the, who did the bad deed. And then the other way is when you, deductive logic is like typical science, whereas you find this mammoth bone sticking out of the desert floor, and then you start piecing together other evidence. It's I'm also finding seashells, mammoth bone and seashells, but you start picking up clues, and also there's a watermark on the mountain over there. It looked like maybe this was at some point some sort of a sea, and then after that, maybe mammoths lives here. But that's, you're working your way with evidence towards a conclusion, which is, mammoths live here, and it was an underground, and it was an ocean at some point. Anyway, people just think about things differently, and both kinds of logical people are logical, and it's all legitimate. And sort of, I want to use that as a backdrop to say, not everything is even logical. I mean, there's just different perspective, and this is where this dream comes in, just difference in perspective from one moment to the next. So anyway, boom, the dream, I'm kind of looking in on this scene. I'm not really quite in the scene, but it's like, there's what I perceive to be a holy man, and he has an altar, and he's preparing a sacrifice, a testament to his God, which is a God of light, I perceive. So you've got a holy man. He's he's got a little fire going and a little wok, something. and he's a little pan, and he's like, you know, preparing. He's got herbs. He's got some, you know, what smells good. It's like it might be some garlic. It might be some sage. You know, it's like it smells delicious. Meanwhile, I mean, this is a beautiful, transcendent looking moment. Holy man, herbs, beautiful aromas, the smoke heading towards the light. And all around in the darkness, there's like this scurrying, like rats or something. It seems, it's like, you know, sinister, you know, it's like, man, and there's like, you know, a couple of large scurriers, either big rats or demons or something. I mean, it's like negative, it's in shadow, and there's darkness. And, you know, light surrounded by darkness and chaos and scurrying and, you know, and gnashing of teeth. And finally, some little voice says, I want to lick its bowl. I want to lick the bowl. Please, let's just lick the bowl. And it sounds sinister. These little sinister rat-like beasts scurrying in the darkness want to lick the holy man's bowl and like defile this offering to his, you know, greater God, you know, to the light, whatever he's worshiping. And so it seems that's what my perception is to start this scene, you know. And the holy man he's got the herbs going. He adds in some vegetables, you know, a couple. I smell potato and you know, some carrots, you know. Maybe, oh man, it's like a little turnip, a little parsnip. Oh man, the aromatics, you know. And it's like, you know, this parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. It's just beautiful. And yeah, we want to lick the bowl. We went, and he puts in some meats of a sacrificed holy beast. I don't know what it is, man, but it's like, you know, it's some flesh, you know, that's offered. And it's just the aroma is just, you know, and the slavering and the gnashing continues all around. Yeah, we want to lick the bowl. And it's like, you know, man, it's like this beautiful offering to the God of light and demons scurrying in the darkness. And then finally, one of the large beings sort of leans in close, and I see her face, and suddenly the perceptions change. And it's just a woman, a typical earthly woman. And I perceive that she is maybe a school teacher. And she says, they're just children and they're hungry. And it's like, suddenly I focus in on these little beings scurrying around. And it's just children and they're hungry, and there's a feast being prepared and they can't have any. And then I woke up, you know, and it's like, wow. You know, two different perspectives. I mean, the holy man is he wrong to make his offering to his God? I mean, maybe he just should have cooked what he had and fed those kids. And judging by, you know, I mean, it's like, well, we could parse out the logic. It's like, oh, you know, there wasn't nearly enough food in the pan to feed these hungry kids. No, but they could have. I don't know, man. You know, I just got to leave it there. I mean, I'm not going to say what's right. And that leads me to the study of light and dark. Think of you know, it's all through all of our learning, the yin, the yang, black and white. You know, think of the yin and yang symbol, kind of the flowing infinity of the two balanced sides, dark and light. Well, among angels, it's the same way. Among angels and beings that are non-physical, you know, beings from the non-physical spiritual realm, they are light and dark also. There is balance. And at one point in creation, and maybe before creation, and at one point when there is no creation, there is a perfect balance of light and dark. And maybe there, I mean, you know, in creation there is too, to a large degree. But, you know, the balance here, as we've learned from reading a little bit, you know, well, we'll get to a lot of it, you know, coming up as I read. But the balance between light and dark, real quickly, this is what occurred to me after that dream. Just some numbers cropped into my head. You know, later on we'll read about this, but you know, like the heavenly host was like a thing. We'll call that the spirit world, like a thing in balance. And then suddenly a third of the heavenly host decided they wanted to come down into this world and actually lick the bowl. So things were, you know, changed. You know, and so it's like, let's describe this duality as light or good and dark or bad. Let's say good and bad right now, because that's easy to understand. We see so much bad. We know there's a gray area, and I'll talk about that gray area here. When a third of the host of heaven came down, they were still, it wasn't all bad. It wasn't just the bad angels. There were some good angels. There was some of the good side too came down, but the part of the good side of the heavenly host that came down, I thought my wonderful dog was outside and she's barking. Molly, no. Excuse me. A third of the host of heaven fell from heaven. There was 50% of those that came down. It was still a 50-50, but it was 50% of the dark side. They're just bad. They're just dark. There always will be. But the matching corresponding number of angels that came down from the light side, the good side, well, they were no longer, it was them that is no longer, they are the ones out of balance. They are the tweeners. They're the independents. And that's us here on earth. That it's like we're fallen, but we're not bad. We're more like naughty. We're naughty, you know? So of the people down here that are not bad, well, we're naughty. And those are the people that that's who I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach the naughty. And that naughty bit, you see, here's where the numbers come in. It's kind of, this is fun. This just occurred to me, you know, like this morning. Actually, that's a lie. I got it yesterday. Because I told my buddy Ted about it. Ted, who wrote the book of Ted. But anyway, so 33.3333 repeating percent of the heavenly hosts fell to earth. Of those, half are bad. That's 16.666% are bad, and 16.66666 repeating percent, 16.666% of us are just naughty. So what I'm saying is, hey, all you naughty motherfuckers, you're just naughty, you're not bad. And when the big event happens, the cosmic harvest, when the physical world again collapses into nothing, that's the singularity. And when there is no physical world, the energy of the universe is able to illuminate the spiritual world. And in that moment, that's when it's the perfect yin and yang, the perfect is perfect for a moment. And it's the mind of God. It's bigger than any demiurge. It's bigger than the God of this world. It's bigger much bigger. It's bigger than light or dark. It's light and dark. It's everything in that moment. But after that moment, there will be another explosion. That singularity explodes into another Big Bang, creates another physical universe, and after whatever, many billions of our years or whatever, when the dust settles, maybe there's a planet that hosts life. And over billions of years, whatever, animals develop, and as they will without our help. And finally, some little she-monkeys look so adorable, and the copulation that they're having looks so fun that a third of our heavenly host will just say, hey, let's go in and lick the bowl, man, and it happens again. Then we're stuck in this cycle with spiritual beings being in animal bodies, and we have to communicate and get the light sorted with the dark before the next big event, which is coming. And that's what the urgency is. That's and it's like, hey, if you're bad, if you're just bad, be bad. I'm not trying to change you, but if you're naughty, remember that basically you're good and you're a child of light. We just got to get it sorted out, and that's why I'm getting into this book. I'm gonna pick up here. Forgive me if I repeat myself a little bit from yesterday, but we will slide on. As noted, the demiurge or creator of this world is commonly distinguished from the transcendent deity in Gnostic texts. The demiurge, that's the lesser god, the ones that created this world, or the one that created this world. It could have been Priapus, the god of sex. He's the one that maybe he just wanted to dip his wick, and that's why I'm leaving. That's what this is. This is not just. It's not just naughty. It's biblical. We are naughty. Anyway, I read that. I read that paragraph yesterday, and I found where I want to start today. It's the next paragraph. The Gnostic revealer awakens people who are under the spell of the demiurge. Within a Jewish context, the Gnostic revealer is Seth, the child of Adam and Eve, or Dedikeas, that's Greek, probably, Dedikeas, probably Aramaic for male child, as the first thought or the afterthoughts or the wisdom of the divine. Within a Christian context, the revealer is Jesus, the anointed. Within a Manichaean context, Jesus of light, as well as others. More abstractly, the call to revelation and knowledge, the wake-up call, is a winged divine messenger in the Song of the Pearl, instruction of mind in Hermetic literature, and enlightened Manda Dehe, knowledge of life in Mandaean literature. In other words, the call to knowledge is the dawning of awareness from within and without, of what is, what was, and what is to come. It is insight. It is gnosis. It is knowledge. Man, that's just beautiful. As we're saying again, this is nothing, this is no affront to anybody. This is just beautiful. It's just like, it makes me proud to be a human that people can think like this. In other words, the call to knowledge is the dawning of awareness from within and without of what is, what was, and what is to come. It is insight. It is gnosis. It is knowledge. In Gnostic literature, those who come to knowledge are described in different ways. Occasionally, they are specifically called Gnostics. The Mandaeans are also called by the word that means Gnostics in Mandaic. More often, they are named the unshakable race, or the seed or offspring of Seth, or the generation without a king, or the elect or chosen, or in the mother of books, the one who knows, with the ones who know, or in the mother of books, the ones who know. With a mystical flourish, the Gospel of Philip recommends that rather than be called a Christian, a person with knowledge might be understood to be at one with the Gnostic revealer and also be called Christ. This recalls the Gospel of Thomas, saying 108, where Jesus says, okay, let me back up and say this right. This recalls the Gospel of Thomas, saying 108, where Jesus says, "Whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed to that one." Such people of knowledge know how to live profoundly and well in the truth and light of God. The Gospel of Truth concludes, "It is they who manifest themselves truly, since they are in the true and eternal life and speak of the perfect light filled with the seed of the Father, which is in his heart and in the fullness, while his Spirit rejoices in it and glorifies him in whom it was, because the Father is good, and the children are perfect and worthy of his name, because he is the Father. Children of this kind are those whom he loves." I think that means, hey man, we're all right. It's all right. You know, especially if you want to know, if you want to know, you're a Gnostic. You just learn. You just say you want to know, and then you start knowing. There you go. As opposed to a former employee, an avowed agnostic, which means anti-knowing. I asked him a question. I said, do you know what you're doing? Like, as a former employee. He says, actually it was a her. She said, "I don't know. I don't want to know. And I don't want you to know," said the agnostic, former employee. We'll probably do just this one more paragraph here, and we'll call it a session. Be a good place to end it. The sacred texts presented in this volume all help to clarify what Gnosticism is and who the Gnostics were. The similarities and differences among these texts are equally instructive, as are the connections among them, whether historical or phenomenological. The early wisdom Gospels of Thomas and John, both perhaps dating from the 1st century CE, portray Jesus as a speaker of wise words, or even as the divine word itself, which is itself wisdom. These early wisdom Gospels represent incipient Gnostic perceptives, and they were used extensively by later Gnostics, so that their impact upon the history of Gnosticism was huge. The classic literature of Gnostic wisdom dates from the 2nd century CE, and some materials in the literature are probably even older. Justin's Book of Baruch illustrates a Jewish form of Gnosticism with Greco-Roman allusions. So does Sethian Gnostic literature, with its provocative Jewish interpretation of the opening chapters of Genesis and its emphasis on the special roles of Eve, the mother of the living, and Seth, whom the Sethian Gnostics claimed as ancestor. Valentinian Gnostic literature is named after the great 2nd century teacher Valentinus, who, along with his students, seem to have made use of Sethian insights in order to fashion an elegant Gnostic system for reflecting upon the origin and destiny of true life and light. In Syria, the sacred literature relating to Thomas is closely related to the wisdom gospel of Thomas. In Syria, the sacred literature relating to Thomas is closely related to the wisdom gospel of Thomas. Thomas is understood to be the twin of Jesus and the guarantor of his wisdom and knowledge. Wow. Thomas is understood to be the twin of Jesus and the guarantor of his wisdom and knowledge. It might be a good place to end today, man. That's like, wow, that's heavy. Jesus has a twin. Here he comes again. I said, Jesus has a twin. Here he comes again. Well, I'm silly, man. You know, I want to know. We're reading. I want to know. But I'm naughty. I mean, I'm naughty and I'm nice. Love you guys. Good day. Happy holidays.